And it's time to stop making excuses and start doing the work that you need to do to create what you want in your life. And don't even waste your time or mine with the excuses, because I've heard them all. And so has the person that you're about to meet. I know you're too young. Oh, I don't live in the right place. Well, I'm too late. Oh, I'm not surrounded by the right people. Oh, well, everybody else is already doing the thing that I want to do. There's no room for me. Aren't you sick of these excuses? Of course you are. And by the time you're done listening today, you're going to be done making them, and you're going to also know that you deserve the success that you want. Today's episode is an invitation to dream, and not just dream, but dream in color. Really go for it. To stop saying, what if I fail? And start saying, what if I succeed? I mean, imagine that. And after today, you will succeed, because what you're going to learn comes from real world experience. In our Austin studios is someone who has built a billion-dollar career in one of the toughest, most cutthroat industries on the planet. I'm talking about Will Packer. Will is an award-winning filmmaker and Hollywood producer with 10 number-one box office hits. His films have grossed over $1 billion. And you are going to know his films when I tell you what he has produced. But here's what you don't know. Will didn't come from money. He didn't have connections. But what he's learned over the years is how to cultivate an unstoppable mindset. Now, I have devoured his New York Times best-selling book. It is packed with takeaways and the craziest stories that you're going to love that prove the validity of everything that he is about to teach you today. This episode is a masterclass in building unshakable belief in yourself and your dreams, especially when no one else believes in you, and even when you're not sure you believe in you. So buckle up, because Will believes you can create a blockbuster life, and today he's going to walk you step by step through the lessons he's learned as he's built his. Hey, get your friend back, and welcome to the Mel Robbins Podcast. I am so fired up for our conversation today. I'm excited that you're here. It is always an honor to spend time to be together, and if you're a new listener to the podcast, I wanted to personally welcome you to the Mel Robbins Podcast family. Thank you for being here. And because you made time to listen to this particular episode, here's what I say. I know you're the kind of person who not only values your time, but that you're ready for something more. You see a bigger possibility for yourself, and you're going to be thanking yourself when you're done listening to the conversation today. And if you're here right now because someone shared this episode with you, it means that they see something in you. They know you're capable of more. And maybe all that's been missing is the right person with the right advice and the right background stepping in and taking the time to reignite that fire within you. And that's exactly what's going to happen today. I'm so excited to introduce you to Will Packer. Will is a record-breaking Hollywood filmmaker and producer. His movies, they've grossed more than $1 billion at the box office. He has had 10 number-one releases, including Straight Outta Compton, Girls Trip, Think Like a Man, Stomp the Yard, Night School, and Rival. He also is the instant New York Times best-selling author of Who Better Than You? The Art of Healthy Arrogance and Dreaming Big. Now, Will's book has already been a New York Times bestseller for 10 weeks. Oprah named it one of the best self-help books of 2025. I'm calling it one of the best mindset books you'll read. The team and I devoured his book cover to cover. Here's what I love about it. Will not only takes you behind the scenes and tells you all these incredible stories and unpacks the lessons learned from his incredible career as a filmmaker and producer. In fact, you're going to learn that Kevin Hart has worked on more films with Will than any other producer. As he dives into the lessons and the stories behind his career, you're going to hear names like Beyonce, Paul Walker, Tiffany Haddish, Idris Elba, Steve Harvey, just to name a few. And the reason why I wanted to have Will on the podcast is because of the path that Will took in order to get where he is today. See, Will didn't grow up in Hollywood. He didn't have money or connections. Heck, he wasn't even in New York or LA. He's been underestimated his entire life by everyone but one person, himself. I kid you not. When you start listening to him, you're going to think, did he just come into the world believing in himself? No. It's something he cultivated along the way, and he is here to teach you how to do the same thing. That's why I wanted him to spend time with you. And he's not just going to tell stories, although some of them are pretty amazing and wild. He's actually here to teach you some really important things, like how to believe in your worth before the world is clouded for you, how to pivot after rejection and keep going, how to keep showing up during those periods when no one is watching, and how to stop talking and finally start doing. Will is going to tell you over and over and over that every single room that you walk into to is better because you're in it. And by the time you're done listening, you'll actually believe it. So without further ado, please help me welcome the extraordinary Will Packer to the Melrose Podcast. Will Packer in the house. I'm so excited you're here. Thank you for
Are you kidding me? I'm excited to be here. This is awesome. This is so very cool. Just sitting here, being able to vibe with you. Your team is amazing. And just, I'm looking forward to the conversation. What we can share with us.
Well, and I also can't wait to hear what happens in the person's life who's listening and to the people who they share this with because, well, I gotta tell you, I devoured your book. I cannot wait to unpack the stories and the lessons. And I'd like to start by having you speak directly to the person who's listening and tell them how their life might be different if they take everything that you're about to share with us that you have learned, oftentimes the hard way, if they really take it to heart and they apply it to their life.
I'm so glad you asked that because it's my routine. There's so many people coming and saying, will you mentor me, right? Will you do a master class? Will you come and talk to my students? And I try to do as much as possible. I can't talk to everybody. So I said, you know what? This is the mentorship I wish I had. What are the secrets that I now know that I can't go and sit with every single person, but I can go out and I can put it out in a book that I can share with as many people as possible. It's one of the reasons I wrote it to pour back into the community of people that have supported me. I wanted people to feel like they could be seen and heard in a very different way. Not just listen to, but like present. I wanted them to walk into a room and not feel like they had to justify why they were there. I wanted them to figure out how better to prioritize themselves in a world where it's all about balance. Everything's crazy. We're trying to balance everything. We can all use some help prioritizing the main things, and sometimes you are the main thing. And then asking that question, who better than me? Because the reality is that it helps to unlock you beyond your paycheck or your circumstance or the things around you that are constraining you. When you say, who better than me to work past this, to get past this, who better than me to accomplish something that feels like it's beyond my current situation? That's the question. You've got to constantly ask yourself over and over every day and then learn how to answer that.
Okay, let's just start right there.
Okay.
4 words. Who better than me? As I was listening to you say that, who better than me? I thought, what a genius thing to ask yourself. Because that question by design, who better than me,
Yes.
actually presumes the answer,
Yes.
which is you are the person that is in the best position to do whatever is necessary
Yes.
to solve this problem, seize this opportunity, make this change.
Yes. And the question itself is a challenge. It is a challenge to yourself. Because you're not asking someone else, tell me, do I deserve it? Tell me, am I important enough? Tell me, have I impressed you? No. You're asking the most important person to give that answer. You're asking yourself, who's better than me? You're challenging yourself to name somebody else that deserves it more than you. And then once you realize that you deserve success, the most successful people I've been around, it's not that they're just so amazing. It's not that they have some talent that you or I or the person watching us don't have. What they have is this mentality that they deserve success. That's the key. Deserve success. And that is coming. Because a lot of times, and I've been there, you think, I haven't been successful to this point. I don't know if it's coming. It didn't come today. It didn't come yesterday. It might not come tomorrow. The most successful people feel like it's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming. You can't let go of it. You gotta believe it's coming. Success is coming.
I 1000% agree with you. And one of the other reasons why I like this question, the title of the book, of course, is Who Better Than You, which as I see that, I'm like, who better than me? He's talking to me. And then you start to ask yourself, well, who better than me? You also recognize that oftentimes you're sitting around waiting for somebody to pick you, waiting for somebody to make the opportunity, waiting for somebody else to see what you hope people recognize. But you got to see it yourself first.
Yes.
In fact, you write about this, Will. I'm reading from your New York Times bestseller, Who Better Than You? And I love what you wrote in the introduction. Too often, we're waiting for someone else to hand us the keys that open the doors to our goals. And we want that person to not just give us the keys, but to also show us how to use them. You will already be closer to obtaining your personal level of greatness when you understand that you are the key. You are the secret sauce. You are the person you've been waiting on to give you the leg up that will make all the difference. Who better than you? By realizing that you already have access to that power, you are closer to unlocking it, closer to producing a block blockbuster life, embarking on an extraordinary career path, or maybe just having the audacity to put on your own blowout affair celebrating who else? You. You. I love this. And just remember one thing. This much I know to be true. Oprah ain't coming. That's a nod to a story you're going to tell us.
Yes, it is.
But for the person who's listening, who's like, yes, Will, yes, but they hear produce a blockbuster life.
Yeah.
You are an acclaimed producer. What actually is a producer? You know what I mean? Like, I think like director versus producer, like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Because it is a direct connection to producing your life.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting because producing is actually the transferable skill that most people, whether you're in Hollywood or not, can actually use.
Okay.
Right? So what I tell people is that when you watch the Academy Awards, you've got all these different categories, right? You got best actor, you got best sound, you got best director. At the very end of the night, the final award goes to best picture. And the producer wins that award because they were responsible for putting all those other people in the positions that they were in. So the producer is a big project manager. They're responsible for getting the money and hiring the director, and hiring the sound person, hiring the actors. That's what a producer does. That's why I say you can produce a blockbuster life. And producing is put all the things in place that creates the ultimate thing, which is this life we all want to live.
For somebody that's listening who's like, it's too late for me. You know, it's just too late.
Yeah.
I screwed up. I missed the window.
Yeah.
What would you say to that
I
person?
hear that so often. I was talking to somebody the other day, an incredible woman who is trying to figure out how to get her business off the ground. And she was like, well, I'm not in my 20s. I ain't in my 30s. I'm not going to tell you my age, but I'm at a big age. And I said, listen, in Hollywood, we have a saying that how they feel at the end is how they felt about the movie, okay? What that means is that, and you've been there, right? You ever seen a movie and it's kind of slow and it's like, okay, I'm going to stick through it, but it's taking a long time
Yes.
to get there. And what is all this exposition and all this plot? But then at the end, something amazing happens. And you go, oh, now I see why all that other stuff happened. And you call and tell all your friends, like, yo, this movie is great. You got to see this. It's good. It's got a hook. It's got a thing. I want to tell you, you got to go see it, right? Because the third act, the movies are broken down by names. The first act is what gets everybody's attention. That's why you come. It's starring so-and-so. It's about this. It's a rom-com. It's a horror. It's a comedy, right? That's the first act. The second act is when you get invested in the characters, right? That's when you get to learn the story. But the third act, that's when you bring it home. That's when you really determine whether or not you love that movie or not. Everybody in Hollywood knows that. The way you leave them feeling. So many of us are in our second, third, and even beyond acts. But we're judging ourselves on what we did in Act 1. That doesn't even matter, right? The third act, that's how you leave people feeling. That's the value that people are going to attribute to, right? You can't judge Mel Robbins on the first act of her life. I know that. You're very open and honest about that. Same with Will Packer. So whether you're in the first, second, or even third act, it's not over. You got to remember, it's the way you end it. It is the way you leave people feeling about what your most recent accomplishments are. So it's never too late.
But what I also love about this is if you don't like how it feels, we know you're not in the third act yet.
There you go. That's right.
Right.
You're not at the end. You're not at the end. You still got more acts to go. You still got an opportunity to change and create a blockbuster life. Never too late to pivot. The power of the pivot. I'm a big believer in embracing that power. Your movie's not over. Your story is not over being told.
I absolutely love this. I love it because it allows you to think about where you are as if you're in a scene. But this is not how it ends. If you're going to produce your life, you get to decide how it ends.
That's right.
You know, in your book, you have this tool that you call healthy arrogance, but I don't want to be considered arrogant. So what do you mean by that?
Healthy arrogance is the feeling that you belong in any room that you're in, no matter who else is in that room. Okay? Not to be confused with toxic arrogance, which says, when I walk into a room, I'm better than everyone. Right? I'm a winner, you're a loser. I'm good, you're bad. That's not what we're talking about.
Yep.
What it is the belief that no matter who's in that room, you belong there because you have something that you're bringing. You have a confidence, because that's really what it is. Healthy arrogance is an outside confidence in the uniqueness of you. Most successful people are confident. Not loud. You don't have to walk into a room and announce it, but you gotta know it. You gotta know, I'm doing something and bringing something to this room that nobody else in here has. Nobody else in here can do the way that I do. And so when you walk in with that level of confidence, now you also realize that this room, not only do you deserve to be there, but the room is better because you're in it. And then you start thinking about, how can I people in this room to prove my worth and make the room better because of the thing that I do.
I love something you just said because it's a framing that you can hold on to. Because I do think that if I really unpack this healthy arrogance, right? Because I was really thinking, okay, so for somebody who's like super insecure and doesn't have a lot of confidence,
Yeah.
a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome. You
Yes.
walk into a room, you think you have nothing to offer.
Yes.
I love this framing. The room is better because of it.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with intelligence or skill. It has to do with just your presence as a human being and knowing that that in and of itself is a value.
Yes.
Is it fair to say, because I was thinking about this concept of healthy arrogance, if somebody struggles with self-doubt and this inability to really see something positive about themselves, right? Is the arrogance actually what it takes to be bigger than that self-doubt?
Healthy arrogance is internal,
Okay.
not external.
Got
Right? It is not about walking in and everybody going, oh, look at that Mel Robbins. Boy, does she think she's the shit.
I hope they don't say that.
That's not what it's about.
Okay.
What it's about is Mel Robbins walking into that room and feeling like, I've got an importance. I've got something. I got self-doubt because everybody has it.
Right.
I got that little doubt devil on my shoulder telling me what I'm not, what I can't be, what I don't have. Healthy arrogance is the other, the angel.
Tell me how that angel talks. Because a lot of that angel's not very loud.
You know, that angel, that's what we gotta make it louder. That
Okay.
angel's going, go Mel, go Mel, go Will, go, like, go. You got this, you can do it. Mel, I literally tell myself this. You talk about affirmations, I'm the king of self-affirmation.
Let's hear it.
I look in the mirror every morning
Yep.
and I do a Will Packer pep rally. I have my own little pep rally telling myself, you got this. You got this. You have the skills. You have what it takes. You're prepared for the day. You're prepared for whatever's going to come that you don't even know. You got it, Will. You're prepared for it. I do that for two reasons. One is because it's the last time I'm going to hear it, right? Because we just don't walk around with a bunch of people, you know, unless you got a marching band following you around telling you how great you are. The second reason I do it is because my voice is the most important voice. Because I hear it from the most important person I need to hear it from. That is one of the ways that you can build that confidence muscle, even if you're not that person, because none of us are born thinking, oh, I'm great. I have what it takes to be successful. I deserve success. That's not something we run with. You have to build it.
Wait, so you did not, because being around you, Will, there's this just contagious, kind, effervescent possibility. Like, I believe everything you're saying. I'm like, this dude must have literally entered the world with this wiring because it is so woven into your DNA. Is this how you've always been, or did you? Okay, well, take me back to the beginning.
I always had a dream of being like really successful, and I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know how to define it. But there was nothing about me or my life or my upbringing that said to me that like that was in the cards. It just wasn't. And for me, it was like the possibility of success outweighed the fear of failure. And that's where I'm trying to pull people to and get them to see that like the fear of failure is real. I get it, I understand it. I know depression and anxiety is something that all of us at different levels have to deal with. For me, I have this outsized desire for success. The what if I'm successful is what I listen to and what drives me, and it's louder than the what if I fail.
I love that you were able to teach yourself to say, what if this works?
Yeah.
What if I am successful?
Yeah.
What if I just keep going a little bit longer and it actually freaking happens?
Yes.
How would you recommend to the person listening
Yeah.
that you cultivate this?
It's a muscle.
Okay.
It's a muscle like any other muscle that you have to build, right? One of my secrets is that I will fabricate momentum.
Oh, okay. Fabricate momentum.
Yes.
Tell me.
Here's how
Teach
I
me
do it.
well.
Yes. Too many times we're so hard on ourselves in thinking, what if I fail, what if I fail? Because we feel like, Mel, Will, I haven't done anything, right? I want to go out and climb the mountain. That's my goal. I want to climb the mountain. I can't. I haven't climbed the mountain yet. Well, first of all, that goal is too lofty, right? The first thing to do is not climb the mountain. That's not step one. Step one is buy mountain climbing shoes. That's it. Step two, go drive by the mountain. Picture. Think about it. Go home. You know what you've done? You've done two things. You completed two steps. You got to tell yourself that, right? Did one, I did two. Slow progress is still progress. I'll never forget the first movie I ever made after I graduated from college. I set a goal for myself for how much money we were trying to raise. We were trying to raise $750,000. That was a goal. I couldn't raise it for the life of me. I didn't know anybody rich. I didn't have any money. That was the budget of the film, and I could not raise it. So what I did was, instead of a monetary goal, I set a date goal. I said, okay, whatever I'm able to raise in the next 3 months, right? By the end of June, when that comes, that's the budget of the film. Mel Robbins. By the end of June, I had raised 75,000 whopping American dollars.
Okay.
A long way away, and not enough money, especially back then, to make a movie.
Okay.
Guess what?
What?
I shot a tiny little $75,000 movie. That did two things. The first thing it did was it gave me something to show people that I could do. I was saying I was a filmmaker, but now I can actually show them I'm a filmmaker. The second thing, the most important thing, was that it showed me I could do it. It showed me, because I was like, you know what? I didn't make it the way I wanted to make it. I didn't have the big budget. I didn't have the big star, but I made something. I did something. Too many times we're setting a goal and we're saying, if I don't accomplish that, or I don't know how I'm going to accomplish that, fabricate some momentum. Get it going, right? Get started. Do something you can accomplish, and then another thing, and then another thing. Before you know it, you've got a little momentum. It's another way to trick our brains into saying, you know what? I'm not in a cycle of failure. I'm in a cycle of positivity. All you did was buy some mountain climbing shoes and drive out that mountain 3 times. But you're on your way. You're closer than you were sitting at home going, I'll never be able to climb a mountain. You're a little bit closer. That's the key, whatever your mountain is. For me, it was literally going out and making a tiny little movie so that I could prove to myself I could make something.
I love that you're proving to yourself. Now, did anybody see it?
Yeah, a couple people.
Yeah. Couple people?
It came out. It did. And you know what? I actually had success with that film. We actually went out because we hustled. The other thing I believe is that you got to be willing to do what others aren't, right?
Oh.
One and a half brothers won't. You got to be willing to do what others don't.
Wait, say that again. That was really good.
Yes. It's my mantra of my family, right? It's my wife and I have got 4 kids, so 6 of us with a 6-pack. The 6-pack mantra is, if you want to have what others won't, you got to be willing to do what others don't. And so with that movie, we drove our little tiny movie city to city to city to city. We drove and stayed in little Motel 6, Super 8 motel, where whoever would have us, and we would pass out flyers. We'd pass out flyers at nightclubs, we'd pass out flyers at churches. We were in the South, so a lot of times the same people at the nightclub, and we're at the church the next morning, right? It didn't matter. We were hustling. Nobody else was doing that at that time. So that's why we had success they didn't have. If you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to have the same sphere of success that they have. So you got to be willing to step outside your comfort zone and step outside the comfort zone of other people.
In that story, I'm sure there were a million lessons doing it that way, and relationships, and everything else that you don't think about.
I still use it to this day. That's why I sit where I sit, because of when I went out and drove my little tiny movie, city to city to city, and that's how I ended up getting on Hollywood's radar.
Will, you're amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I want to hit the pause button real quick so we can give our amazing sponsors a chance to share a few words. And while you're listening to the sponsors, take a minute and share this with a friend. Will's on fire, and he's just getting started, and absolutely every one of us needs to develop this unshakable belief in ourselves and our dreams. And so don't go anywhere. Will Packer and I are going to be waiting for you after this short break. So stay with us. Welcome back to Ready Mel Robbins. Today, you and I are getting to spend time with the remarkable filmmaker and producer, Will Packer. There are so many incredible stories in your New York Times bestseller, Who Better Than You? And one of the first ones that I loved, and it touches on this idea of healthy arrogance, is the story about your student film, Chocolate City. I love this story for so many reasons.
The very first film I ever made, I was still a student. I was in college at Florida A&M University, and we made this tiny little movie. Literally, we just borrowed money. We used, film that was sitting in a warehouse that nobody else was using. I mean, we had nothing to make this little movie, right? It starred us. It starred the kids on that campus. We were so audacious, and this is where the Who Better Than You and the healthy arrogance comes in. That after we finished this little tiny nothing of a movie, we're in Tallahassee, Florida. We said, well, we made a movie, okay? We gotta have a premiere. That's what you have when you have a movie. You have a big premiere. We couldn't make it in Hollywood. We didn't have any money for that. So we did a premiere right on our campus, right? Use the resources available to you, right on our campus at our student auditorium. And we invited all the students, right? But you had to dress up. You had to wear black tie. Mel Robbins, these are broke college students. The audacity was a little mean. Now that I go back and think about it, because they all went out and did it. They went and rented tuxes and gowns because we said to get in, you gotta wear formal wear. What it did was it told them, okay, you know what? They're taking this very seriously. So I guess we should too. Kind of crazy, but we'll do it, right? The other thing we did, we invited all of Hollywood. We invited all the major Hollywood studios. You name the studio, Sony, Warner Brothers, Paramount. We invited the heads of the studio. My mom, I'll never forget, my mother goes, well, baby, you should invite Oprah Winfrey. I said, Mom, I don't know Oprah Winfrey. She said, you don't know all those other people. You invited them. You invited this chairman of Sony Pictures. You don't know them. You invited them. You should invite Oprah. I said, okay, I'll invite Oprah. I said, but Oprah can only get a +1, okay, because I don't have that many seats. So I invited Oprah, gave her +1. She could have brought Stedman or Gail. Didn't matter to me, right? I'll never forget that. I am standing in the student auditorium of my first little film job scene, and I'm introducing you to a room full of students who are all dressed to the nines, who took it serious because I said they needed to, because I said it was that important. And the entire front row is empty.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to Advice Session, a series where anything goes, where you send in your current dilemmas, or anything, and I mean anything, you want advice on, and then I give you my unprofessional advice. Today's topic is motivation, discipline, productivity, something that I struggled with for many years, but finally, recently, figured out. I feel like this year, 2025, I've been the most motivated, productive, and disciplined that I've ever been in my entire life. And listen, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, okay? The only reason I feel comfortable saying that is because I spent the other 23 years of my life not productive, not motivated, not disciplined. So, I haven't always been this way. It's been a long journey. But I think I'm qualified to give advice somewhat because I've made a lot of improvements in recent history, and today I'm going to be sharing my advice on the topic. So, without further ado, let's begin. I briefly interrupt this episode to let you know that this episode is presented by Dove's new plant milk cleansing collection. You know how I love my little treats, and I feel the same way about treating my skin in the shower. So I give my skin what it's craving with Dove's plant milk collection body washes. Made with a special plant milk blend, just one shower deeply hydrates your skin and leaves you feeling soft and glowing. My favorite scent is the oat milk and berry brulee, but they all smell incredible. Turn your next shower into the little treat your skin deserves. Head to Target to buy Dove's Plant Milk Collection body wash before it sells out. Now, back to the episode. Somebody said, how do you find the drive and motivation to keep up with your workload? And then in parentheses, the podcast. Really need advice on staying motivated. Personally, I think what keeps me motivated is number one, having a clear goal, okay? Actually, number one and most importantly, I should say, having a clear goal. It is so hard to motivate when you don't really know what you're working for. And for a long time, that's how I felt. My purpose when I first started my career was clear to me. It was, I want to be a comforting, honest, and I hate this word, but relatable person on the internet. I want to share my life in a way that doesn't make people feel bad or jealous, but makes people feel comforted, like they're hanging out with a friend. That was my goal. And then, I don't know, like at a certain point in my career, I kind of lost the plot a little bit, you know, and I lost my purpose because I started to overthink what my purpose initially was when I first started my career, which was what I just said. I started to overthink it. I started to be like, wait, I need a bigger purpose. That purpose is not big enough. You know, I've gotten to a certain point in my career, I've reached a level of success. I need to make my goal bigger, better, more impactful. And unfortunately for me, that confused me for a long time and left me uncertain of what my ultimate goal was, career-wise. You know, because again, I had a clear goal in the beginning, but then through wanting to make my goal deeper and more rich, I just ended up with no goal because I could never really figure out what the new goal was. Because what I didn't realize at the time was that my original goal, the one that I started my career with, is the ongoing goal that I will have for the rest of my life. It doesn't need to be deeper than that. I didn't realize that at the time, but eventually I realized that. And so what I learned from that experience was having a clear goal makes staying motivated so much easier because when my goal was clear, when I first started my career, I was so motivated. I never wanted to stop working on YouTube videos and all the other opportunities that I had. But when I started second guessing my goal and my purpose, that's when the motivation waned. And it was harder for me to get stuff done because again, I didn't have a clear sense of purpose. And then when I ultimately rediscovered my ultimate goal and purpose, my motivation came back. So that experience really showed me how important it is to have clear goals and clear purpose. And unfortunately for you, I can't tell you what your goal should be. I can't tell you what your purpose should be. All I can tell you is that it exists within you and only you can find it. It also helps me stay motivated when I enjoy what I'm doing. And I know that is not always possible, right? Like when I was at school, I had to stay motivated even though I didn't enjoy doing my history homework. You know what I mean? Like there are times in life when we need to motivate ourselves to do things that aren't fun. But as often as I can, I try to make what I'm doing fun. I try to find a way to make it fun. There are little things that you can do to make your workload more fun. Like for example, let's say you have final exams coming up and you're really dreading it and you're having a hard time motivating to study. Make a study group with your friends. Spend the week leading up to your final exams studying with your friends. Hang out every night, order food, and study together. Obviously, taking final exams isn't fun, right? But by making it fun, it helps you motivate. When it comes to my life and my career, I do my best to choose the opportunities that to me I feel like are going to be the most fun. And again, that's an incredible position to be in, and I'm aware of that. But there are opportunities that come up for me sometimes that look really shiny and appealing on paper, but when I think about it, I actually wouldn't have fun doing them. And so, listen, there are times when, I maybe do things in my work life that aren't fun. There's actually a lot of things that I do that aren't fun, but I try to choose the fun stuff as much as I can. And with the not fun stuff, I try to make it fun. For example, I often get sent long documents of work from my team that I need to do, whether it's like making a deck, like a creative deck for something, or if I'm working on a project with a big team, writing notes, sending my notes about the project back to that team, doing approvals of videos and pictures of me, and it's like weird stuff. Anyway, and I definitely don't love doing that document. When I get sent those documents, I'm not excited about them because they're tedious and they're not the most fun. But I'll do what I can to make it fun. I'll make myself a little matcha. I'll sit down, I'll play music. I'll try to make it fun. I feel like making work fun as much as possible is key. It might even be like buying a bunch of fun colored pens, or having a really nice planner or notebook that you work in. Like, I don't know, little details like that can really make a difference, and it definitely does for me. And then last but not least, it really helps me to have a life that I enjoy outside of work. There's something about enjoying my personal life that keeps me motivated in my work life. When my personal life sucks, my work life suffers, okay? And I think it's because having a fun, exciting, rejuvenating personal life filled with good people, fun activities, exciting hobbies, relaxation, laughs, humor, having a personal life filled with that recharges me so that when I get back to work, I'm like, let's fucking do this thing. Let's get this shit done so that I can go back to my personal life that I enjoy. And so, if you have a life that you don't enjoy, maybe you don't have a good group of friends, maybe your significant other isn't great, doesn't treat you great, maybe you don't have any hobbies, maybe you spend too much time on your phone or watching TV. If you have a personal life that isn't exciting to you, you'll have no energy to go back to work with. That's at least what I've noticed. Like when I've been in shitty romantic relationships, or I've had trouble in my friend groups or whatever, I can't get work done during those times. When I'm on my phone too much, when I'm spending my free time on the internet, I can't get anything done when I get back to work because I feel depressed and anxious and captured by the internet in a bad way, It's so important to get your personal life to a good place. And listen, that's not an easy thing to do, right? That's a constant work in progress. But it's something that I've noticed impacts my motivation and my drive significantly. Somebody said, how to stop procrastinating and wasting my day and build a solid routine. This might sound cliche, but to the best of your ability, you gotta build a routine that you enjoy, okay? If you don't like doing a 40-step skincare routine, don't do a 40-step skincare routine in the morning. If you don't like exercising in the morning, don't exercise in the morning. If you don't like eating sweet green every day for lunch, but that's the only healthy idea you have in your head, you need to come up with another idea. Don't have sweet green every day for lunch. If you enjoy watching television after work, let yourself watch television after work. Like, you need to build a routine that you enjoy that is truly intuitive. I feel like so often we look online or we look at people in our lives who have a good routine and we try to replicate their routine because we're like, oh, these people are so successful, they're getting so much done. I want to be more like them. I'm going to try to copy their routine. No, that will not work because the best routine is a routine that is perfect for you. It needs to make perfect sense for you. Like, for example, for me, I love waking up early, and I love getting to have an hour or two in the morning where I just go on my computer, get work done in my little robe, and drink my coffee. I really enjoy that period of time in the morning. So I've kind of drifted away from doing super early morning workouts, like 7 a.m. And now I'll do like a 9 a.m. workout, or I'll do like an afternoon workout at like 12 p.m., so I can really have that moment in the morning and get stuff done. I really like working out in the first half of the day. I know that that works for me, so I do that. I also used to do like a boot camp style workout, and at a certain point, I started dreading that, and it became harder and harder to keep that as a part of my routine. So I ditched that and found something else. I ended up getting really into hot yoga and Pilates and going for long walks, and I realized, okay, this is what I like. So that's what I'm doing right now. But if that changes at some point, I'll change it, because that's what you got to do, right? You have to be intuitive. I like to work on and off throughout the day. So I like to work for a few hours in the morning, take a break, go exercise, come home, eat something, sometimes take a little nap, then get back to work until the evening, like 7, 8 p.m. I like to cook dinner. I've been really trying to cook dinner. That's been a priority for me. So I cook something that takes me about 30 minutes. I try to, not do anything too complicated, because then I'm not motivated to do it. So something simple, something that takes like 30 minutes or so. And then I watch an episode of something on TV, or watch a little bit of YouTube on my TV, and then go to bed. And that routine is fully based on what works for me. Like, some people, they want to wake up super, super early and get all of their work done before noon, Some people, I don't know, like, don't like working early. They want to, wake up, have a leisurely morning, maybe start working at noon. And listen, not everybody can choose their schedule, right? But in whatever ways that you can, cater your schedule and your routine to you, because that's something you're going to stick to. Next, I've given this advice a lot, but I'll give it again because it's just so incredibly helpful. Write shit down. Write down a plan every single day. Wake up and write a to-do list. Buy a paper planner. Download Google Calendar. Have a place where you organize your routine. Have a place where you can see your routine written. And plan things out, down to the hour, if it'll help. Like, having a plan every day when you wake up gives you direction. It gives you intention, so that you can, like, the second you finish a task, you know what's next. And then, if you get it all done, plan a reward at the end of the day. I get to watch TV, I get to go grab dinner with a friend. I get to work on my hobby, like whatever. Give yourself a reward at the end of the day. Schedule that in as well. Because I think having something like that to motivate you is very helpful. But it's even more helpful if it's written down on your planner, on your Google Calendar, as like, this is what I get to do at the end of the day. When I check all these boxes, at the end of the day, I get this reward. It's so helpful. I also think when making your daily checklist, don't be overly ambitious. Put down the bare minimum, okay? What you absolutely need to get done, and what is important for you, right? Because, like, for example, you don't need to exercise. Like, you don't need to, unless you're a professional athlete. But if that's something that really makes you feel good, that you really, really, really need to do to keep your mental state clear, I'm somebody like that. Like, I need to be moving, or else I get, like, angsty and angry. Schedule that in. That's something that's crucial that you need to do. But, like, organizing your garage is not something you need to do right now. That's not something that has to be done right now. Well, maybe for you it does, if you're, like, moving or something. I don't know, but for most of us, we don't need to organize the garage right now. So don't be overly ambitious. Put what you absolutely need to get done on your to-do list for the day, and then when you finish, you can either celebrate that you finished and go and relax, or if you have more energy, choose to do more. I tend to have two sort of lists going at all times. A daily list of what I'm going to do on any given day. So, like, every day I have a to-do list, right? And then I have a list of things to do whenever I get the chance. So, like, if I finish my work early one day and I have energy, I'll go look at that list and I'll start checking off that list. Because if I have too much to do on my daily to-do list, I get overwhelmed and I have a hard time completing the list, and it makes me feel discouraged. So having that other list that I only look at when I have extra time just helps me psychologically. It's better not to be overly ambitious. And that's that. I briefly paused this episode to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Hotels.com. I love to travel, and I love staying in hotels. There's nothing I love more than walking into a fresh, clean hotel room and just absolutely exploding in it. Okay, putting all my skincare in the bathroom, hanging all my clothes up in the... I do. But what I've learned over the years is that we cannot focus on the things that we cannot control. We can focus on doing our part, but we can't change the state of the entire world. We just can't. So, therefore, it's a waste of time and life to let it get in our way. And listen, that might be a controversial take. I've seen people on the internet disagree with what I just said, right? But I really truly do believe that all we can do is control our lives, what we do to make this world a better place. And sometimes there are little things that we can do that maybe can have a ripple effect, right? But at the end of the day, we are only in control of our lives. The world is big. It's small, but it's also big, okay? And we are tiny little details in the grand scheme of the earth. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, put it into perspective a little bit. The world is so huge, it is so out of our control that we have to zoom in and focus on us and our lives, because that's all we got. And to me, it's a real shame to waste our time on this earth, which is so incredibly short, by worrying about things that we can't control, right? There are a lot of scary, terrible things about being alive. That's the case now, and it's been the case since humankind was created, okay? There are really complicated things going on right now, but there have been really complicated things for our entire existence. The human condition is fear, is challenge, is fucked up shit. Being a human is fucked up. It's fucked up in a lot of ways. It's unfair. It's terrifying. We have evil streaks. It's complicated, and it always has been. I think we tend to forget that for the entirety of humankind, shit has been bad in a lot of ways. And listen, if you were to go back 1,000 years, people were fucking dying left and right. Dying. There was no medicine, or maybe, I don't know when medicine was created, but there wasn't as much medicine, and now we have our own slew of challenges as well. Listen, being alive at any point in history has been complicated. It's been scary. And so my point of that is not to undermine the challenges of today, but to put into perspective that it's always been this way. And you know what? It's an honor to be alive. We only have so many years to be alive here on this planet. We cannot worry about shit that we cannot control while we're here. We have to do the best we can to have fun, to enjoy life, to find beauty in it, and to make our experience here on this planet as beautiful as it can possibly be. That is our job. To be pessimistic about the state of the world, to be scared about the state of the world is fair, but it's our job to try to fight against that, to try to find the beauty, to try to find the positivity, to try to make the experience as wonderful as possible. And some people might say, oh, that's selfish. It's selfish to make life fun when there's so much suffering and there's so much cruelty and there's so much unfairness and there's so much pain and there's so much to be afraid of. It's selfish to enjoy life when there's all this. No, it's not. I'm sorry, I disagree. No, it's not. It's not. You can be concerned about the state of the world and do your small part to change things as best as you can. Maybe big things. Listen, big things can be done as well. Of course. But I don't think we need to expect that of ourselves. Listen, somebody who creates some sort of amazing technology that changes the world, amazing. But we don't need to expect that of ourselves. If we have an idea for that, great. But if we don't, we're not a failure, right? So that's why I say small, ways that we can change the world. Or not change the world, but do good, right? Do good. It is not wrong for two things to be happening at once, okay? On one hand, there's a concern and an acknowledgement of the challenges that come with being alive in the world today and at any given moment, okay, throughout history, right? That is important. But simultaneously, we must make the most of our time on this planet. Two things can be happening at once. I feel like on the internet, it's a very one-track mind sort of thing. You either have to be upset about the state of the world and make that your entire life and existence, or you're blissfully ignorant and you're an asshole and you're a bad person and you're out of touch. I just feel like the discourse on the internet about one's disposition is very one way or the other. No, we should be striving for balance, to acknowledge but also to understand that we have to do our best to enjoy life. We have to. And both things can be happening at once. And I really suggest that you try to find that balance. And I think if I had to give one piece of advice to you, it would be stay off the fucking internet. Listen, the internet will convince you that the world and life is so much worse than it actually is. Listen, again, I am not undermining the challenges, the realities, because I think it's important to be tapped into that. You don't want to be completely aloof. I get that. However, I think it's very important to be careful about how much internet you consume. That means the news. That means Instagram and whatever. Here's the deal, okay? the internet tends to prioritize drama, bad news, right? Whereas in real life, a lot of times shit isn't so bad. You know what I mean? The way that the world looks on the internet is far more terrifying and horrible than real life. The life that you actually are living. And listen, sometimes there are moments when the real life, the life that you're living, is fucking horrible, okay? That happens too. But even then, it always looks worse on the internet. The internet will convince you that things are worse than they are, okay? And so I think it's really important to be careful about your exposure to bad news on the internet. Because listen, it's important to be up to date and know what's going on. But it's equally as important to exist in the real world with your own 2 feet on the ground. Because at the end of the day, that is your life. All of the shit happening on the internet, good stuff, bad stuff, stuff that makes you jealous, all of that stuff is not your life. Your life is the life that you're living in person. The stuff that you see, the stuff that you touch, the stuff that you experience. You see what I'm saying? And that needs to be your number one source of life. Does that make sense? The internet cannot be your number one source of life. And yeah, that's my advice there. Okay, moving on. Somebody said, any advice? I'm feeling constantly overstimulated and drained and tired all the time. I can't seem to find any energy. I would say the first thing to check up on is whether or not you have a healthy lifestyle. And by that I mean a mentally healthy and a physically healthy lifestyle. So mentally healthy, are you on the internet too much? Are you watching too much TV? Are you gossiping too much? Are you in drama with friends or significant others? Are you in drama? You know, are you mentally unhealthy? And number two, are you physically unhealthy? Are you not moving your body? Are you not eating well? Are you ordering too much food delivery and it's making you feel like shit? Check in on your body, mind and body. Are you taking care of yourself? Because if you're not, that will lead to feeling drained, tired, overwhelmed, and burnt out all the time. You know, when I'm in a phase of my life where I'm not eating well, I'm not exercising enough, it'll sneak up on me and I won't even notice that, you know, like, I'll be like, oh, I just feel like shit, like, what's going on? And I'll be angry and whatever, like in a bad mood all the time, and I, like, won't feel good, and eventually it'll dawn on me, I haven't been taking care of my physical body. And the same thing goes with my mental state, right? Like, if I'm hanging around people who bring me down, if I'm dating somebody who maybe isn't making me feel good, it'll sneak up on me. I'll be like, why have I been feeling like shit? And then all of a sudden I'll realize, oh, that's what it is. But because I've realized over time that, you know, I'd say a solid 50% of the time when I'm feeling drained and overstimulated and tired and I can't figure out why, it's usually because I'm not taking care of myself. You know, I'm allowing myself to be around people who take me down. I'm not prioritizing exercising. I'm not prioritizing eating well. I'm gossiping too much. I'm, you know, existing in a pessimistic state of mind. I'm not healthy. That's, you know, 50% of the time what's going on. But the other 50% of the time depends. It could be something more specific. And when I find myself in a place like this where I'm feeling tired, drained, exhausted, and I don't really know why, and when I look at my life, it actually seems quite healthy. You know, everything's good. Like, I love everyone I'm hanging out with. I feel supported. I feel loved. I feel somewhat positive. Like, I'm not overly negative. I'm moving my body. I'm eating well, but yet I still feel drained and exhausted. Then it's time to do a deeper dive. There's something more specific going on. Maybe it has to do with my work. Maybe my work life is stressing me out too much, and I need to make some changes there. Maybe my anxiety is acting up, and I've just been really anxious for some reason. In order to figure out what the root of this is, and sometimes there is no root, right? Sometimes we're just exhausted, but in order to find the root of it, it takes a lot of soul searching and just looking inward and saying, like, okay, what's been going on? Analyzing every single little detail of your life to try to figure out what's draining you, because a lot of times there is something draining you, but it can be hard to figure out what it is, because I think a lot of times we get into a routine and we're in autopilot and we're not really reflecting on what we're doing. We're just doing it, right? And it takes a real conscious effort to stop and to analyze life and what's going on and what could potentially be causing us fatigue. Oh my God. Also, I will say, if you're going on the internet too much, that will make you feel drained, fatigued, exhausted all the time for no reason. So get off the internet a little bit as well. That really helps. Okay, now moving on. All right, next. Somebody said, I'm trying to prioritize my routine and productivity since I just started university, but the social engagements are constant and so fun. How do I find balance? Well, here's the deal. I do think it's important when in college, when you first move out of the house, to enjoy the social engagements. Like, listen, I didn't go to college, so I don't really know what that exact experience is like. However, when I was 17, I moved to Los Angeles and started working on my career as somebody who's on the internet, yeah. And I was faced with to get to work. On the other hand, for the first time in a long time, I have all these peers and friends to hang out with because for context for me, I left high school junior year. I graduated early. And for almost a year, I lived at home alone. I had no friends, I had no one to hang out with. I had friends, but like they were all in school, so I was alone, working at home. So when I moved to LA, I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, I have so many people. Oh my God, my throat just made a weird sound. Did you hear that? I think it's because you didn't know it, but I paused recording for a second and went and ate a piece of banana bread. Now I'm sitting down again, recording again, and I think my throat's making weird sounds because I had a snack. I don't really know. Anyway, I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, I really get to have fun and have friends and hang out now. Finally. I've been working alone for so long, and I think a lot of people when they leave high school and go to college are so sick of hanging out with the same group of kids that they've been with for like 4 years that there's just all this excitement to hang out with a larger group of people. Colleges are way bigger than high schools, and there's just so much to experience, right? And I think it's really important to experience the social experiences. I think some people look at college like, this is not a free-for-all. This is time to work. This is time to get prepared for your work life. Like social engagement should be the last priority. Everybody has a different opinion, right? I do believe that the social element of college and the social element of moving out of the house for the first time and being in a new community, it's very important, I think. And it's a time in your life that you'll never get back, if you will, right? Like, I don't regret moving to LA and hanging out with friends way too much, because I definitely did, right? I definitely fucked off a lot. I still got shit done, but like, I definitely slacked a bit because I was hanging out with people. I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all because now, I'm a little bit older, I'm 24, and I can't really justify hanging out like that anymore. It's crunch time, So it's like, I'm glad I got that out of my system when I was younger because now I don't really have as much time to hang out like I used to do fun social stuff. I have more work to do now. And so I'm glad I got that out of my system when I did. And so all of this to say, don't feel bad for going and doing the social stuff, right? There's no need to feel guilt. However, balance is key because you don't want to overdo it. Because you don't want to fail at your work or at school because you're so consumed by the fun stuff. You do need balance. And inevitably, when finding that balance, it's inevitable that some social engagements and some great success will be sacrificed for that balance, right? It is inevitable that if you're not fully focusing on being social or fully focusing on getting good grades, something's got to give, right? If you're somebody who's like, I'm going to get straight A's in college, I'm going to ace every single class, just absolutely nail this, you might not be able to be social then, And on the other hand, if you're like, I want to go to every single fucking party, I want to live it up while I'm in college because I know that when I leave, the fun is going to end a little bit. If that's your goal, then you're probably going to get bad grades, right? It's like something's got to give. So I think in order to find the perfect balance, I would say create specific goals. Create goals for your grades. Say, okay, I want to get higher than a B minus in all of my classes. Make it a goal that you want to attend every single class for the entire year. Never miss a class. Make it a goal that, you want to make 5 friends by the end of the year. Make it a goal that you go out to 2 social engagements at least every week. Make specific social and educational goals for yourself that can help you dictate what to do and what not to do. Because if you don't have goals, it's really hard to make decisions. It's really hard to decide, should I go out tonight or should I study? Well, if you have a B in the class that you have a test for tomorrow, if you fuck up that test, you might go down to a B minus or a C plus. So you should probably study for that test so you can bump your grade up to maybe an A minus. If you have an A plus in a class, it's your favorite subject, you're really good at it, you already feel familiar with the topic at hand for the test tomorrow, you know what, maybe you can go out instead. Worst case scenario, you don't do that well, and your grade goes down a little bit, but it'll be easy for you to make that. You see what I'm saying? If you have goals that are specific, it helps you make decisions. So write out specific goals for yourself. Put them on a Post-it note. Stick them next to your bed. Have specific goals that can help you choose what to do with your time more wisely. And last but not least, somebody said, how to deal with a general lack of discipline in life. You need to prove to yourself that discipline pays off, that discipline feels good, because it does. But if you aren't convinced of that, if your subconscious isn't convinced of that, then you won't care to be disciplined. You have to teach yourself that discipline feels good, okay? So basically what I'm telling you is you need to do your own sort of version of the 75 hard challenge. If you don't know what the 75 hard challenge is, it's where people go 75 days living an extremely disciplined, regimented schedule. And the 75 hard challenge, you read every day, you work out twice a day, you only eat really healthy, you don't drink alcohol, you don't go on your phone, whatever. Like you do all these, you have basically the perfect routine, right? And I don't think you should necessarily do that because that is pretty extreme and it definitely doesn't work for everybody. But I think you need to figure out your own version of the 75 hard challenge. I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to do a month, okay? That seems like a reasonable amount of time for you to really stick to a disciplined schedule. Do you think you could do a month? Okay, now you need to figure out your rules. In what ways do you want to be disciplined in your life? Because you can't be disciplined in all areas of your life, right? Something's got to give. So figure out what areas of your life you want to be most disciplined. Maybe you want to have a solid exercise routine. You want to work out, 5 days a week. Maybe you want to start cooking and eating healthier foods. Maybe you want to start waking up earlier. Maybe you want to stop going on your phone as much. Write it all down. Figure it all out. What areas of your life do you want to be more disciplined? And then create your own sort of challenge. Like, okay, this is again an example. You need to create this for you, curate it for your specific life and what you want to be disciplined in your life. But make it a specific challenge for yourself. For example, for the next 30 days, I'm going to wake up every day at 7 a.m., go to bed at 9 p.m., work out 5 days a week, and eat really healthy, and not go on my phone for 30 days. And then do the challenge until completion. Do it. If you fail, start over. But I can guarantee you at the end of that challenge, you will feel so much better. Your brain will feel better. Your body will feel better. Your self-esteem will be boosted because discipline boosts self-esteem. You're going to be feeling so good that it'll be easy to keep going with the routine because you'll be like, wait, now I know that there's a reward for all of this. So your brain will actually start to respond more positive to these disciplinary activities, right? What used to feel like a punishment, like exercise, will start to feel exciting to you because you know that at the other end of that workout, you're going to feel amazing. And you know that it makes you feel physically good. It makes you feel more confident. You know what I'm saying? Once you prove to yourself that your disciplinary routine reaps benefits, you'll want to keep doing it. You'll be motivated to keep doing it. But until you start seeing improvements in your life, it's really hard to feel motivated. So that's why I suggest doing some sort of 30-day challenge where your goal is just to get to the end of it, right? That's what motivates you for the 30-day challenge. It's like, I just want to complete it. I just want to prove to myself that I can do it. But then at the other end of the challenge, you'll see how much better you feel because after a month, you'll see a lot of changes. 2 months, you'll really see a lot of changes. It'll motivate you to keep going and to change your lifestyle permanently. And that's my advice session today. That's it. That's it. I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did, new episode of Advice Session every other Sunday, new episode of anything. So, I lost my voice this past weekend because I was driving around with my friends. We were listening to music. Windows were rolled down. We were having an incredible time. And it came time for my friends to put on musical theater music. Okay? All of my friends love musical theater. They love Wicked. They love West Side Story. They love Little Shop of Horrors. They love Hairspray. They love Hamilton. My friends love musical theater. And so every time we're driving around and listening to music and singing, windows roll down, musical theater or music will come on at some point. Now, this is the time in the car ride where I sort of quiet down and keep to myself. Because I didn't grow up doing theater. I didn't grow up watching theater. I know nothing about musical theater. And I definitely don't know the lyrics. So it's not really my thing. However, on this particular weekend, last weekend, my friends were extra generous and decided to hold up the lyrics for me so that I could learn some of the songs with them so that I could participate. Very generous, very nice. And we put on Wicked, specifically the Wicked movie soundtrack. And even more specifically, the song Defying Gravity, which went very viral on the internet. Because Cynthia Erivo, Elphaba, in the musical movie Wicked, does this unbelievable vocal riff thing in that song, and it went viral. So you probably heard it. Anyway, that's like the only thing I know about musical theater, is that Cynthia Erivo in the Wicked movie did this like insane riff in the song Defying Gravity. That's like the only thing I know about musical theater. Anywho, they put that on, and I got excited because I knew that in that song, I'd be able to participate wholeheartedly at a certain point. When that riff came around, I knew that that was my moment to shine with my musical theater loving friends. Anywho, to make a long story short, that part of the song, came up, and I hit it as hard as I possibly could, because you have to imagine, I have wanted to participate in the musical theater adornment for months, for years, and I haven't been able to because it's not my thing. And so I think this weekend, when that song came on, I had all this pent-up energy that I've been waiting to expel, you know, from months and years of listening to musical theater music with my friends. I've been waiting for this moment, for me to be able to enjoy it too. And so I hit it a little bit too hard and I completely busted my voice. My voice is gone. But I will say it felt amazing to enjoy musical theater with my friends for even just a moment. For even just a moment. It was sort of euphoric and I have no regrets. I hate when I lose my voice. But I think it was worth it.
I briefly interrupt this episode to let you know that this episode is presented by Dove's new Plant Milk Cleansing Collection. You know how I love my milk. I think it's safe to say that at this point, the experience of sitting down on your phone, scrolling on social media for hours, to the point of feeling depressed and anxious and insecure, is a universal experience. We've all experienced it. Like, my grandma has experienced it, and I don't even know if she knows how to send an email, but somehow she knows how to doom scroll. It's kind of a miracle, honestly, that she figured that out. Like, that feels advanced. But unfortunately, she figured out something that I wish she didn't figure out, because doom scrolling is one of the most miserable experiences of life today. I mean, there are more miserable experiences, but doom scrolling is actually really bad. And it shouldn't be, because it's just the act of using the internet, scrolling, consuming content, consuming news, consuming information. Like, it shouldn't be that bad, but it is. And unfortunately, we're all experiencing it. But it's inevitable because the internet is more addictive than ever, and we are not equipped as human beings to resist the temptation. So we're all sort of fighting this bad habit together, which is sort of beautiful, but again, unfortunate, because doom scrolling sucks and makes us all feel like shit. And it really made me feel like shit a few years ago, to the point where I took extreme measures. I bought a second phone, I downloaded all of the addictive social media apps onto that phone, and then decided to keep that phone in a drawer unless I really needed it, to maybe post something on social media, or every once in a while to check in on my loved ones, and you know, but other than that, the phone's in the drawer. And I will say, it really helped me. Like, I can confidently say that I've kicked the doom scrolling habit, for the most part. Am I perfect at it? No. Like, once a month, do I find myself doom scrolling again? Yes. And is it miserable? Yes. But I will say, I've gotten really good at avoiding it. But listen, buying a second phone didn't fully solve the problem, right? Because then the issue arises of like, well, why don't I just go get the phone out of the drawer? Like, how do I prevent myself from taking that step? I mean, luckily, the fact that it's in a drawer is an added step that prevents it. But then what happens if I'm feeling really motivated to doom scroll and I want to go get it out of the drawer? What then? I learned to pivot, find a different activity to go do instead. Something that's a little bit more productive. And that's helped me a lot, because don't get me wrong, I still have moments where I want to go get my phone out of the drawer. And sometimes I do. On really low discipline days, I go grab the phone. But for the most part, I've learned to pivot. And I pivot, again, as I said, to a different activity. And in today's episode, I'm going to be giving you some inspiration for some activities that you can pivot to when you want to doom scroll, specifically during the summertime, because where I live, it's summer right now. And there's nothing more depressing than sitting on your phone all day when it's gorgeous outside, the sun is out, the UV is up, and you're inside on your phone. No, that is so depressing. Okay, during the winter, doom scrolling to me is less depressing. It's still unfortunate, but it's less depressing because it's cold out, and the alternative activities aren't that different to doom scrolling. Like what? Have a movie marathon on the TV, you know, crack a book. Like, I don't know, it kind of feels the same. It's particularly unfortunate to doom scroll during the summertime, because the summertime should be joyful. It's warm, there's so many more activities to participate in. There is no reason to be sitting inside doom scrolling on your phone. I did another episode like this a few months ago, maybe like 8 months ago now, like last September, just giving random things to do instead of doom scrolling on your phone. This episode is specifically for summer. These are summer-specific activities to get you off your fucking phone, okay? So that you can feel good and stop overloading your mind with too much information. So without further ado, these are things to do instead of doom scrolling during the summer. I briefly interrupt this episode to let you know that this episode of Anything Goes is presented by Walmart. Summer's back, baby, which means a whole new wardrobe. Thankfully, you can find trends that speak to you for less. jobs at walmart.com/, just begging for some fresh produce. But I'm someone who gets into a routine with what I'm eating, and I eat the same things every day, and a lot of times they're easy to prepare because I don't like things that are too complicated, and a lot of stuff like I end up keeping in the fridge or whatever. And so my fruit bowl usually looks pretty sad because like a bunch of fresh fruits, it's not always in my rotation, right? That's like a nice thing to have around that I definitely will eat if it's there, but it's not often in my routine. Do you know what I mean? Depends. It depends on what phase of my life that I'm in. But all this to say, my fruit bowl is usually dusty and empty with like one lemon in it and like one little old dried up piece of ginger that I like had from when I was drinking a lot of lemon ginger tea. You know what I mean? But it's dried up. It is. It's dried up and it's gross and it's like unedible at this point. And if you look close, there's probably mold. There are so many delicious fruits ripe during the summer. Instead of doom scrolling on your phone, why don't you go to your local farmer's market? Or if you don't have a local farmer's market, go to your favorite grocery store and pick out a bunch of seasonal fruit, okay? I'm talking about peaches, plums, nectarines, cherries, blackberries, strawberries, I think watermelon's in season. You can look up a list of all the fruits that are in season during the summer. Buy a bunch of beautiful seasonal fruit that are in season, okay? It's summertime, let's lean into it. And fill that fruit bowl. Please wipe it out first though, because if your fruit bowl looks like mine on an average day, it is dusty. There's a little bit of mold in it from old fruits that got moldy and I didn't wipe it out. Let's clean the bowl. Then fill it up with beautiful fruit. And then for the next week or so, now you have a beautiful fruit bowl to have fruit from as a snack for the week. Yum. Something I really love to do is make a really aesthetically beautiful fruit plate, especially during the summer. And I like to sit outside and I like to eat it. There's something about that is so magic to me. And like when the sun warms the fruit a little bit, so it's like really juicy and it doesn't hurt your teeth because it's not cold. Like if you have fruit in the fridge, it's like cold and hurts your teeth. But if you let it sit in the sun for a second while you're eating it, it like gets warm and like jammy. Oh my God, what a delight. So indulge in some seasonal fruit instead of doom scrolling on your phone. Kind of in the same world, another thing you can do is go to your local farmer's market, if you have one, or a local grocery store, and pick out a bunch of fresh flowers, okay? If you don't have any sort of receptacles for flowers, my recommendation would be go buy a 12-pack of mason jars, because it's like the perfect size to fill with flowers, and they look cute and like somewhat rustic, and you can buy a bunch of flowers that match your personality, okay? If you're a tulip type of person, I don't know if tulips are in season during the summer. If you're a tulip person, get tulips. These flower arrangements are for you. They're for no one else. If you like daisies, get some daisies. Pick out a bunch of eclectic, fun flowers that match your personality. And spend the afternoon making little flower arrangements, perhaps in mason jars or in anything that you have at your home that would work. And pop them around the house. I love having fresh flowers in my house. It's definitely a high effort sort of thing, but it's so rewarding. It brings joy. Every time you see your little flower arrangement, you're gonna smile. You're gonna smile. And they don't need to be extravagant. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to feel like you. Honestly, a really fun afternoon craft that keeps giving. It's like a little craft that keeps on giving because your house is gonna look beautiful for the next like 2 weeks with all these flowers. How wonderful. Okay, moving on. Open all the doors. Actually, don't do that because somebody might walk into your house. Actually, don't open all the doors. Open all the windows. Get the breeze rushing through the house and figure out an elaborate dessert, summer dessert that you want to make, okay? Sit at your dining room table and ask yourself, what summer dessert sounds the most delicious right now? Now, you might discover upon some reflection that you're craving cherry pie. You might discover upon reflection that you're craving a lemon bun. I don't fucking know. Is that a summer dessert? I don't know. Brainstorm a summer dessert and then find a recipe. Go online, look at a cookbook in your house, find a recipe, go to the store, buy everything, come home, make sure those windows are still open. Hopefully you closed them when you went to the store, and then you're gonna reopen them now that you're home and you're ready to bake. Bake an elaborate dessert from scratch. No box mix, okay? If you wanna distract yourself from your phone for multiple hours, no box mix. From scratch, everything. Do it by hand. I recently did this a few months ago in a big way for my birthday, and I made a YouTube video about it, how I made birthday cake. I was so consumed in that experience. I was so in it. I didn't think about my phone for like, I'm not kidding, 8 hours. Because it took me so long to make that cake, and I also fucked up halfway through and had to start over. So, I mean, it probably wouldn't have taken 8 hours, but it did for me because I'm kind of, I don't want to call myself an idiot, but I'm tempted because it was really like, I forgot the sugar. How do you forget the sugar in a cake? I know, I'm asking myself the same thing. But I was so consumed by that project that I didn't go on my phone, I didn't listen to music, like I didn't do anything. I was fully in that experience, and it was actually so rewarding because there's just something magical about really getting lost in a task, and I think baking has that ability because it is kind of hard, to be honest, especially if you're making something fully from scratch. And you can really get into flow state with it, even if you're not a natural born baker, because I definitely am not. Set the mood and make an elaborate dessert from scratch. Okay, next, another idea. Again, open all the windows, put on some music, set a vibe, set a real good summery vibe. Let the outdoors in, right? And do some productive shit around the house that you've been avoiding, okay? I'm talking about open up your makeup drawer, take out all your makeup brushes, and please wash them. It's been too long. I'm talking to myself here. Because I have not washed my makeup brushes in like 3 months, and it is getting gross. And honestly, maybe this weekend I'll open all the windows and I'll put on a tank top and I'll wash my makeup brushes. Maybe. Honestly, that sounds kind of delightful. Another thing you could do is clean your AirPods. I know that they're filled with earwax. Please get out a Q-tip and like some rubbing alcohol or something. I don't know how you clean them. You should Google that so that you don't ruin them. But get a Q-tip in the least and get in there and clean them up. Can I be honest? I need to do this. Again, I think I'm kind of subconsciously just listing things that I need to do. Clean up your AirPods. Another thing you could do is cosplay as a professional organizer for yourself. Choose a room in your house and pretend like it's not your room. Pretend that you were hired by yourself to organize your room, whatever room you want. And then go in there and make it perfect, okay? Let's say you choose your bedroom, more specifically maybe your closet. Go in there, fold everything perfectly, and put everything in rainbow order. Like my closet is in somewhat of rainbow order. It starts at white, then it goes to like yellow and creamy stuff, then it goes to red. I have like a certain order that I do that I don't really know why I do it, but I do. Then it goes to red, then it goes to green, then it goes to blue, then it goes to purplish, then it goes to brown, then it goes to black. Put it in order. Look at a tutorial of how to fold things professionally and fold things professionally. Maybe you choose your pantry. You don't need to go out to the store and buy, a bunch of like fancy containers to organize your pantry, but just make everything look nice as though you're a professional organizer. And you don't need to do your whole house, because let me tell you, if you are like about to doom scroll on your phone and then you're like, oh fuck, what should I do? I need to like pivot and do something else. And then you're like, all right, I'm gonna go organize my entire house. You're gonna end up getting frustrated like an hour in, and you're gonna end up doom scrolling. So don't be too ambitious, all right? Choose one room, spend 45 minutes to an hour on it. And if you keep doing that every once in a while when you want to doom scroll, if you pivot to organizing a room like you're a professional organizer, over the course of a few months, your whole house is going to be in really good shape, okay? Another thing you could do is walk around your home and find 10 things, or a number of your choosing. Maybe you're lucky number 7, okay? Choose 7 things that you no longer use anymore, or you no longer want to have around, or you think somebody else could get better use out of. And start a donate bin. I have a running donate bin in my house, and it's so helpful because every time I stumble upon maybe a piece of my closet or, an appliance in my kitchen that I don't use anymore, or it's taking up too much space, and I think somebody else could get more use out of it, I put it in a donate bin in my house. It's easy to access. I just walk up to it and drop it in there. And what's nice about that is, like, sometimes when my friends come over, they look in the donate bin and they're like, oh, can I have this? I'm like, absolutely. And at a certain point, when it fills up and all my friends and loved ones have looked through and they're like, all right, we're good, I go off and I donate it. And one man's trash is another man's treasure. So that could be kind of gorgeous for you. Okay, moving on from doing productive things around the house, another thing you could do is go, ideally walk if it's close by, to a random little local place you've always been curious about but have never gone into, like a cafe or a casual restaurant or an ice cream shop or a park or an antique shop. Go somewhere in your neighborhood that you walk by all the time that you just never gone into for some reason. We all have places like that in our neighborhood. Like, for example, for me, I've had a few of these instances. I drive by this watch shop, like, every day, literally every day. And eventually, at a certain point, I got to go in because I needed help with a watch. And it was so fun because I was like, oh my God, like, I've driven by this every day and I've never gone in. Now I have a reason, so it's fun, but even if I didn't have a reason, like, I've noticed that watch shop before, you know what I mean? And so it was really exciting to go in. But another occurrence like this for me was there's like this little mom and pop sort of pharmacy gift shop thing near my house, and I've seen it again like 100 times, but never gone in. And one afternoon I was bored and I went somewhere nearby and I was like, you know what? I have a few hours to kill. I have nothing better to do. I'm gonna go in. And I just spent like a half hour in there farting around. And it was really enjoyable and it was exciting because again, I see this place all the time. And I've always been sort of curious about what's going on inside, and now I know. There's also been like little restaurants like that, you know, in areas that I've lived where I've just seen the same place over and over again and never had a reason to go or never really been inspired to go. And in a moment when you want to be doom scrolling, maybe you'd be better off going and checking out one of those places. And you might discover a new favorite place, or not. And then you might leave a negative Yelp review. So we'll see. Another thing you can do, don't judge me for suggesting this, but I think this is a delightful activity. Go bird watching at a nearby park. You don't need binoculars. You don't. Honestly, don't bring binoculars. That's like extra. I mean, you could, but you don't have to. Sit on a bench at a local park. Put your headphones in. Listen to some music. And just look at the birds. I love birds, okay? Birds to me might be my favorite genre of animal. Actually, I mean, I kind of love all animals, I guess, but I really love birds. Like, I have a weird affection for birds that I don't understand, but I just love them. Like ducks, pigeons. I mean, I really love ducks, though. Well, I really love pigeons, but I really love ducks. Like, ducks are so cute, because ducks are more snuggly to me. Like, I don't snuggle them, you know, I'm not abusing them, but they're just more snuggly looking than a pigeon. So when I see a duck, I'm like warm and fuzzy inside. I can't take my eyes off them, because I just feel so warm when I look at them. Pigeons I love